Welcome to the Sleep Scientist. Tonight, as the noise of the day fades into the gentle hum of night, we're going to step into a place that feels both familiar and unknown. We're going inward, not into thoughts, not into memories, but deeper than that, into the very architecture of your body, into a space that, until very recently, science didn't even realize existed. Imagine for a moment that you've been carrying a secret your entire life. Not a secret of the mind, not something you whispered once and promised never to tell, but a secret of your own flesh. An entire organ inside you, as vast as a hidden ocean, flowing through the landscape of your body, that science, for centuries, never saw, not until just a few years ago. We believed we had mapped every part of ourselves, from the first anatomical sketches made by ancient physicians to the extraordinary, almost divine illustrations of Leonardo da Vinci, to the modern scans that pierce the skin with invisible waves of magnetism and light. We thought we knew. We thought the human body was a finished atlas. Every mountain, every river, every valley drawn, nothing left to find. But the universe has a strange sense of humor. It waits in quiet patience while we grow certain. It waits for us to declare there are no more mysteries. And then, in one quiet moment, it reminds us that we have been living alongside the unknown all along. Tonight, we will explore the story of that reminder. The story of an organ, the interstitium that moves within you right now. A shimmering network of fluid-filled pathways wrapping your skin from beneath, lining your organs, threading between the vessels that carry your blood. A secret river whose waters flow not on the surface of the earth, but through the terrain of you. As we drift through this story, you will hear of ancient dissections in candlelit rooms, of scientists squinting through glass lenses, trying to map a territory they thought they already knew. You'll feel the weight of centuries of certainty, and the wonder that comes when that certainty breaks. All told in the soft rhythm of night, so you can listen without rushing. And maybe, somewhere along the way, feel your mind loosen its grip and follow the quiet current of curiosity into sleep. If this kind of journey is a place you'd like to visit often, you can join me here each week simply by subscribing to The Sleep Scientist. Every story will be waiting for you, ready to carry you into the quiet when you need it most. And so let's begin. Before we uncover the moment scientists first saw this hidden organ, we must step back in time. And the map of the human body seemed final. Before we can understand the shock of discovering a hidden organ, we have to go far back to the days when the human body was an uncharted wilderness. Imagine a time when medicine was more guesswork than science, when the body was a locked chest, and every healer was just rattling the lid, just trying to guess what lay inside. In ancient Egypt, thousands of years ago, physicians carefully prepared the bodies of the dead for the afterlife. They saw the organs, they touched them, yet their purpose remained wrapped in mystery. The heart, they believed, was the seat of the soul. The brain they discarded as unimportant. The blood was not understood as a circulating river, but as a stagnant pool. In Greece, Hippocrates, the man we call the father of medicine, began to think differently. He spoke of humors, fluids within the body that determined our health and mood. Blood phlegm, yellow, bile, black bile. It was not correct, but it was the first attempt at a map, first sketch of the landscape within. For centuries in Europe, dissection of human bodies was banned, seen as a violation of the sacred. Doctors learned anatomy not by looking at real human organs, but by studying animals or relying on ancient texts that were sometimes centuries out of date. In those long, dark centuries, we thought we knew, but what we had was not knowledge, only stories about the body, passed from hand to hand. Then came the Renaissance, and with it, an artist named Leonardo da Vinci. In the flicker of lamplight, he unwrapped the mystery with ink and paper. Sketches, hearts, veins, muscles were not only works of art, they were maps for the future. Still, even Leonardo missed what we now know as the interstitium. It was there in his drawings, hidden between lines and shadows, but it looked like empty space. In the 16th and 17th centuries, scientists like Andreas Vesalius began to dissect human bodies openly. Their books like De Humani Corporis Fabrica replaced old myths with new truths. The circulatory system, the nervous system, muscles and ligaments, the map grew richer, and the blanks began to fill. And slowly medicine began to believe there was nothing left to discover inside us. By the 20th century, we had X-rays, ultrasound MRI scans, CT scans, machines that could see beneath the skin without cutting it open. Every new technology confirmed the same belief. We had already found all the organs. We were just getting better pictures of them. And so doctors, scientists, and teachers began to speak with certainty. The heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, brain, the list was finite. A child could memorize it in school. The map was complete, or so it seemed. Yet the body is not a textbook diagram. It is a living, breathing, pulsing. And there were small things that didn't quite fit. Patterns and scans that didn't match anatomy charts. Movements of fluid that had no official explanation. Microscopic networks that, according to the textbooks, shouldn't exist. Most of these were dismissed. Artifacts, errors, glitches in the machine. But as with any map, when you declare that nothing is missing, you stop looking for what might still be there. For decades, we lived with the quiet arrogance of thinking the human body was fully known. We forgot that the earth once seemed flat, that the stars once seemed fixed to a black dome, that the oceans once seemed endless until someone dared to sail them. And in that arrogance, we passed over the shimmering, fluid-filled pathways that flowed through our own flesh, mistaking them for nothing. The first signs were so small, so delicate, they could be mistaken for the shimmer of light on water or the faint outline of a cloud, seen only from the corner of your eye. In medical imaging rooms deep inside hospitals, scientists and doctors stared at glowing screens. There, in the soft blur of a scan, something moved in a way it should not. A glimmer, a strange texture, thread that wasn't in the anatomy charts. At first, it was dismissed. It's just fluid leakage, someone said. An imaging artifact. Said another, a technical term for something the machine invented, not the body. And the moment passed. The file closed, but the shimmer would return. In laboratories, researchers peered into microscopes, studying tissue samples thin enough for light to pass through. Between the fibers, between the cells, there was a space. It's not empty, but filled with something too delicate to survive the slide preparation. The process of preserving the sample drained away whatever was there, leaving only a collapsed, flattened ghost of what had been. No one knew that what vanished on the slide was an entire living structure. Every so often, a researcher would lean back from their microscope and think that's strange. They would write a note in the margin, a small asterisk, sometimes a question mark. But in a world of deadlines and data, stray questions are easy to lose. And for decades, the whispers went unanswered. In some patients, doctors noticed fluid moving in ways the textbooks didn't explain. After surgery, swelling appeared in unexpected places. Cancer cells seemed to travel along invisible pathways, reaching distant organs too quickly to be carried by blood alone. It was unsettling. It's like finding footprints in a hallway where no one had walked. Imagine inside your body a river that carries no sound. A network of tiny, fluid-filled channels, cushioning your organs like the spaces between stars. This river has no banks you can see with the naked eye, no map you can unfold, and yet it touches almost every part of you. In science, seeing is not always believing. Sometimes even when the evidence glimmers in the corner of the image, the mind refuses to accept it because it does not fit the known picture. And so, the interstitium remained unnamed, hiding in plain sight, whispering its presence only to those patient enough to look twice. In the mid-2010s, a few researchers began to wonder, what if these strange patterns weren't mistakes? What if they were part of something bigger? And what if the reason we had never seen it clearly before was because we had been looking at the body in the wrong way? Soon new technology would allow scientists to see living tissue in its natural state without draining it, without flattening it, without erasing the spaces where this hidden organ lived. And when that day came, the whisper would become a voice. In our next part, we'll witness the moment the interstitium stepped out from the shadows and into the light. In science, there is a strange kind of stillness before a discovery. It doesn't always feel like lightning. Sometimes it feels like the quiet hum of a machine in the corner of a room, or the gentle click of a microscope adjusting into focus. No one knows in that moment that they are standing on the edge of something new. It was the mid-2010s. A research team was using a technology, still unfamiliar to most doctors, confocal laser endomicroscopy. Unlike traditional microscopes that view thin, preserved slices of dead tissue, this technology could look at living tissue inside the body in real time, without cutting it away from its environment. Imagine a probe no thicker than a pencil, carrying a beam of laser light. It slides gently through the body, illuminating the living architecture, showing the structures as they are, filled with fluid, moving, alive. On the monitor, the team expected to see dense tissue layers packed tightly like bricks in a wall. Instead, they saw a shimmering, open network. Wide spaces, laced with fine collagen bundles. And between them, a clear golden fluid, gliding and shimmering like sunlight in shallow water. For a moment, they thought it must be an error, a trick of the light. But as they adjusted the focus, the pattern remained. The spaces pulsed slightly with the rhythm of the patient's breathing. The fluid shifted, tiny currents swirling through the hidden channels. The researchers leaned closer to the screen. This wasn't a random gap between tissues. This was a structure, a repeating pattern too consistent to be accidental. And it was everywhere, beneath the skin, around the digestive tract, casing blood vessels, surrounding muscles. A vast, interconnected network, never before named. In preserved tissue, this network collapsed. The fluid drained away during preparation, and the delicate collagen walls fell flat, leaving only a dense smear. To the old microscopes, it looked like nothing. But in the living body, it was a landscape, one as large and intricate as any organ we had ever known. The room grew very quiet, not because the scientists didn't know what they were seeing, but because they knew enough to understand the magnitude of it. In a single moment, they were holding in their minds the collapse of centuries of certainty and the birth of something entirely new. They would call it the interstitium. An organ not confined to one place but woven throughout the body, a hidden ocean surrounding every cell, every vessel, every part of us. In 2018, the findings were published. Some scientists were skeptical, as they always are. Could this be called an organ? Was it truly new, or simply overlooked? But as more research emerged, it became harder to deny that this structure was not just incidental, it was vital. And so the map of the human body changed. Not with the thunder of a revolution, but with the quiet shimmer of fluid under a beam of light. Imagine closing your eyes, and instead of darkness, you find yourself drifting in a warm, glowing ocean. All around you, soft golden light filters through delicate walls, woven from threads so fine. They seem like spider silk, yet they are strong, holding everything in a perfect balance. This is not a dreamscape. This is real, and it exists right now inside your own body. For centuries, medicine described the body as a collection of separate parts: bones, muscles, vessels, organs. We thought of these organs as islands, each with its own function, the spaces in between. We called them connective tissue, a vague catch-all term, like labeling the entire ocean simply as water. What we didn't realize was that the space between wasn't empty. It was a world in itself. The interstitium is a network, not a flat sheet, not a closed sac, but an interconnected lattice of microscopic compartments. Each compartment is bounded by collagen and elastin fibers, strong yet flexible strands that can stretch and return, allowing your body to absorb shock and pressure. And within these compartments flows interstitial fluid, clear plasma-like liquid, rich in proteins and signaling molecules. This fluid is not stagnant. It moves subtly, with every heartbeat, every breath. Every motion you make, transporting nutrients, clearing waste, and acting as a cushion to protect your most delicate structures. The interstitium isn't confined to one place. It's woven beneath your skin, lining your digestive tract, wrapping around blood vessels, supporting your lungs, cushioning your kidneys, surrounding muscles and even nerve fibers. Imagine a 3D spiderweb that extends through your entire body, except the strands are alive. The spaces between are filled with fluid, and the web is constantly shifting and repairing itself. Every time you take a step, pressure ripples through your tissues. Without the interstitium's spongy, fluid-filled design, that pressure would pass straight into your organs, damaging delicate cells. Instead, the interstitium behaves like the suspension system of a car, absorbing, redistributing, and easing the load, without you ever knowing it's there. You might wonder, if it's everywhere, how did we not notice it until recently? The answer is simple and a little sad. The moment tissue is removed from the body, the interstitium's fluid drains away. The delicate collagen framework collapses. Under a traditional microscope, it appears as a dense, flat smear, nothing to draw attention. Only by looking inside the living body, with tools like confocal laser endomicroscopy, could we see it in its natural, open, shimmering state. The interstitium isn't just a passive cushion. It's part of the body's lymphatic system, the vast drainage network that collects excess fluid and returns it to the bloodstream. Think of it as the shoreline between the blood vessels and the lymphatic rivers. Nutrients and oxygen diffuse out of blood capillaries into the interstitium, where cells can drink from it. And waste products can be swept away toward the lymphatic channels. But it also does something subtler. It's a communication hub. Cells use chemical signals to send messages through this fluid, triggering repairs, adjusting immune responses, or calling for help when infection threatens. If the bloodstream is the body's highway and the lymphatic system its sewer and recycling plant, then the interstitium is the open countryside, the living landscape where life actually happens. Just like a countryside, it has hills and valleys, winding paths, hidden streams that flow quietly, sustaining everything without demanding recognition. Even now, scientists are still debating just how to classify it. Is it truly an organ? Or is it an organ system like the skin or the cardiovascular system spread throughout the body? What's clear is that it's more than just filler. It plays roles in swelling, inflammation, cancer spread, and possibly even in how we age. The discovery of the interstitium reminds us of a humbling truth. We are still explorers of our own bodies. The maps we've drawn for centuries are not finished. There are still blank spaces, still uncharted oceans within us, still structures that hide in plain sight until the right light reveals them. And perhaps the next frontier in human biology is not outer space, but the shimmering golden waters flowing quietly beneath our own skin. When scientists first began to study the interstitium in detail, it wasn't just a curiosity, it was a revelation. They had expected a static tissue, perhaps a useless filler between the real, important parts of the body. Instead, they found a network alive with purpose. Beneath the skin, between muscles, surrounding the digestive tract, and even cushioning the lungs. This shimmering network acts like a river system winding silently through the terrain of our body. Its banks are not made of soil, but of collagen and elastin fibers, woven into a microscopic lattice. Its waters are not blue or green, but a clear, pale gold fluid, shimmering with tiny particles of life. Proteins, immune cells, molecular messengers. Imagine looking at the interstitium not through the flat lens of a textbook, but through a microscope in 3 dimensions. You would see channels like corridors in an ancient temple, pillars holding their shape, and in between them open spaces filled with fluid in gentle motion. This isn't chaotic flow, it's deliberate, guided by pressures and pumps, by the subtle rhythms of your heartbeat, your breath, even your posture as you sit or lie down. Every movement you make becomes part of this hidden current. When you take a deep breath, the interstitium shifts and expands. When you walk, the muscles gently press the channels, helping the fluid circulate. Even as you sleep, tiny contractions ripple through, keeping the waters moving slowly, silently. Scientists now believe this fluid is more than a passive cushion. It carries signals between distant parts of the body, messages that can trigger repair, summon immune defenses, or adjust the delicate balance of your internal environment. Think of it like an ancient postal network, sending sealed envelopes of information from one village to another. A cut on your skin may be felt in the chemistry of your blood, yes, but it may also echo in the currents of your interstitium, warning tissues far away that they may need to prepare for action. When a pathogen invades, immune cells can travel through these spaces, arriving at the site more swiftly than blood alone could carry them. This means the interstitium might be an unsung partner in the rapid defense that keeps us alive each day. Some researchers have begun to wonder if the interstitium holds memory. Not memory in the sense of thoughts or faces, but a biological memory of what the body has endured. Perhaps old injuries leave imprints in the way the fibers align, or in the balance of chemicals within the fluid. If so, then the interstitium might be like a diary, one that records not with ink, but with structure. It is an unsettling thought that your body might remember falls, fevers, even the days when you were most afraid, long after your conscious mind has let them fade. The irony is that the very tools we trusted to map the human body, microscopes, slides and preserved tissue samples, may have hidden the interstitium from us. In the process of preparing tissue for viewing, scientists would drain away its fluid. The shimmering spaces would collapse, the lattice would flatten, and what remained looked like dense, solid connective tissue. The river had turned to dry land, and its true nature disappeared from view. It took new imaging techniques, able to look inside living bodies without destroying their structures, to reveal what was always there. Suddenly, the empty spaces between tissues were not empty at all. They were vibrant, dynamic, alive. When I think about the interstitium, I cannot help but compare it to the cosmic web, that vast network of filaments that stretches across the universe, linking galaxies with invisible threads. In both, there are nodes, stars, and planets in the cosmos, organs and tissues in the body connected by unseen highways. In both, movement is constant, though too slow or too subtle for us to feel directly. It is humbling to realize that the same patterns that govern the heavens also whisper within the architecture of our flesh. And so we see the interstitium not as a static organ, but as a living system, a river that carries life, that whispers between cells, that remembers, perhaps, what we have been through. But discovery always brings new questions. If this hidden river is so important, what happens when it becomes polluted, blocked, or broken? What role might it play in illness and in the healing we do not yet understand? The interstitium is, in many ways, a river of life. But like any river, it can also become a river of trouble. A clear stream carries nourishment and protection. A polluted stream can spread sickness faster than it spreads health. What scientists are now beginning to suspect is that the interstitium may be both a shield and a secret pathway for disease. One of the most startling revelations came when researchers studied how cancer cells move. Traditionally, we believed they spread mainly through the bloodstream or lymphatic system. But in some cases, malignant cells appeared to leap between distant sites without ever leaving the protective tissues around them. The theory is unsettling. Cancer may use the interstitium as a hidden highway, slipping through its channels to reach new territory. Imagine a fugitive avoiding main roads, traveling instead through the back alleys of a sleeping city. By the time anyone notices, the intruder is already far from the original crime scene. The interstitium also seems to be a reservoir for inflammation, a kind of holding pool, where chemical messengers of the immune system can linger. In a healthy body, these messengers are like an emergency signal flare, bright and brief. But if the system becomes stuck, that signal can burn too long, leading to chronic inflammation. This is the kind of slow, quiet damage that scientists link to everything from arthritis to heart disease, even to certain forms of depression. The idea that the interstitium might be part of this hidden fire changes how we think about prevention and healing. Then, there is the matter of fluid balance. Too much fluid trapped in the interstitium can cause swelling edema, which in turn can slow healing and create pain. Too little, and tissues may lose their resilience, becoming fragile, easier to damage. It is as if the river's level must be kept at a delicate height. Raise it too much and it floods the banks. Lower it too far and it leaves the land parched and cracked. For reasons we do not fully understand, the interstitium's fluid movement seems to change when we sleep. Some researchers believe that during deep rest, the currents shift direction, carrying waste products away from tissues more efficiently, almost like a nighttime cleaning crew. If that is true, then disrupted sleep could mean the river never gets to finish its job. The streets remain dirty, the waste lingers, and over years. This uncollected trash could play a role in aging, memory decline, and chronic illness. It's a haunting idea that sleep is not just for the brain's dreams, but also for the body's hidden rivers to restore themselves. One reason the interstitium remained unstudied for so long is that it is extremely difficult to preserve. The slightest injury during surgery or dissection can change its shape, collapse its channels, and alter the composition of its fluid. This means that every discovery we make about its role in disease is like catching a glimpse of an animal in the wild, fleeting, incomplete, precious. But here's the hopeful side. If the interstitium can play a role in spreading disease, then perhaps it can also play a role in stopping it. If it can carry harmful cells or signals, it might also be a powerful route for targeted medicine. A direct delivery system into tissues without relying on the bloodstream alone. Scientists are now experimenting with ways to use these channels for faster drug distribution, and even for regenerative therapies that could rebuild damaged tissue from the inside out. So, the river inside us is not simply good or bad. It is like nature itself, capable of nurturing life, or of carrying storms. The more we learn about it, the more we realize that our health may depend on keeping this hidden current clear, balanced, and flowing. But the next question is one that touches each of us personally. If this system is so important and so sensitive, what can we do in our daily lives to protect and nurture it? If the interstitium truly is a river, a delicate network of streams beneath our skin and between our organs, then protecting it becomes more than a medical task. It becomes a daily responsibility, like tending a garden that no one can see but you. The truth is, we don't yet have an instruction manual for the interstitium. We're writing it now, page by page, in laboratories and hospitals. But certain patterns are already emerging, and they are strikingly familiar to what we know about caring for the body as a whole. It sounds simple. Drink water. But hydration here is not about chugging as much as you can at once. It's about maintaining a steady supply, so the interstitium's channels never run dry or flood. When you sip water slowly through the day, you give this system a constant, gentle current. When you let yourself become dehydrated, the fluid inside the interstitium can thicken, slowing the exchange of nutrients and waste. Imagine a clear mountain stream turning into sticky, sluggish mud. Everything slows, and life struggles to move through it. We already know that sleep helps the brain flush out toxins through a process called the glymphatic system. But now, researchers suspect that something similar may happen in the interstitium, that during deep, unbroken sleep, the fluid shifts direction, washing away microscopic debris and refreshing tissues. Short sleep, restless nights, or constant interruptions can leave this nighttime cleaning unfinished. Over years, that could mean more waste in your tissues and slower healing after illness or injury. It's a reminder. Good sleep is not just about feeling rested. It's maintenance for the rivers running through you. The interstitium is not pumped by a heart. Its movement comes largely from the pressures and stretches of your muscles, your breathing, even your posture. This means that sitting still for long periods can allow the fluid to stagnate, like a pond without wind. Gentle activity, walking, stretching, slow breathing exercises acts like a breeze over the water, keeping the currents in motion. You don't need intense workouts to help. You just need to avoid becoming a statue. If the interstitium can store inflammation, then every bite you take and every habit you keep may influence its waters, which is a diet rich in colorful vegetables, omega-3 fats from fish or flax. And spices like turmeric can help reduce chronic inflammation. Meanwhile, processed foods high in sugar and refined oils can add more fuel to the hidden fire. It's not about perfection. It's about tilting the balance toward calm rather than constant alarm inside your tissues. Remember, part of the interstitium sits just beneath the skin. Injuries here, even small ones, can disrupt its structure. Good skincare, not in the cosmetic sense, but in the protective sense, matters. Moisturizing prevents microcracks. Sunscreen protects against UV damage, and avoiding harsh chemicals keeps the shoreline intact. When the shoreline is strong, the river beneath it stays healthier. Stress is not just a mental state, it's a whole body event. Under constant stress, your immune signals change, your fluid dynamics shift, and inflammation rises. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, or even quiet time in nature can help settle these waters. Think of it as removing storm clouds from above your hidden river, allowing it to flow smoothly and clearly again. Perhaps the most important change is this. To care for the interstitium, you must stop thinking of your health as something you only notice when it breaks. This is a system that works best when you tend to it long before trouble shows. Every sip of water, every hour of restful sleep, every gentle walk is a way of tending a hidden masterpiece inside you. We are now standing at an unusual point in the story. We have discovered this organ, begun to understand its roles, and started thinking about how to protect it. But the biggest question remains. If this system is so important, why did we miss it for so long? And what does that say about what else might still be hidden inside us waiting to be found? Here's the thing that unsettles even the most seasoned scientists. The interstitium wasn't hiding in some unreachable corner of the body. It wasn't buried deep in the brain or locked away in the core of a cell. It was everywhere. It was in the skin, around the muscles, lining the lungs, surrounding the digestive tract. We had been looking right at it for decades, cutting into it during surgeries, slicing through it in biopsies, studying it in microscopes. And yet we didn't see it. For years, medical science relied on a certain way of preparing tissue samples. You take a tiny piece of the body, dry it, press it between glass slides, and stain it so cells become easier to see. It's a method that has taught us more about human biology than perhaps any other. But here's the catch. That process drains the fluid from the interstitium. Without the fluid, those shimmering water-filled channels collapse. They look like dense, solid walls instead of a network of rivers. In other words, our method of looking erased the very thing we were trying to see. We didn't miss the interstitium because it was invisible. We missed it because our tools made it disappear. This discovery isn't just about one organ. It's about the humbling fact that even in 2025, with all our advanced scanners, AI models, and molecular maps, the human body still has secrets. We tend to think of science as a completed book, as if we've turned every page and filled in every blank. But in reality, science is more like a flashlight in a dark cave. Where the beam shines, we see incredible detail. But the cave is vast, and most of it remains in shadow. If an entire organ-sized system could hide in plain sight for so long, what else are we missing? Could there be other structures not microscopic, but physically large that we simply haven't recognized yet? Could there be processes happening in our own bodies right now that we daren't even have names for? And what about the brain, the most complex structure we know of in the universe? If we're still finding new rivers under our skin, perhaps there are still oceans waiting in our heads? When you hear about the discovery of something like the interstitium, it can feel distant, like it belongs only in research papers or medical textbooks. But the truth is, this organ is inside you right now. It has been there since the day you were born, flowing silently through your life. It has carried the signals of your immune system, cushioned your tissues, helped you heal from injuries, and maybe even whispered to your cells how to stay alive. And all the while, you didn't know it was there. There's something strangely moving about that. It makes you wonder how many other quiet miracles are happening inside you right now, unseen and unnamed. And we've ended with a bigger one. How much of ourselves do we truly know? In the final section, we'll bring it all together. The science, the mystery, and the lesson that will change how you see your own body forever. We spend our lives walking around inside a body we barely understand. We think of ourselves as familiar, mapped-out territory. 2 arms, 2 legs, a heart, a brain, and that's it. But discoveries like the interstitium are reminders that we are not finished stories. We are living galaxies of cells, rivers, and currents, and even now, new worlds are still being found inside us. When scientists announced the interstitium's discovery, the headlines focused on the novelty new organ found, but beneath that was something far more personal. It means there are parts of you, real, physical parts that you have never met, and maybe you never will, not directly. They will work in silence, keeping you alive, cushioning every movement, carrying life between the places that need it most. This is the truth that makes science both humbling and exhilarating. You are not a static machine. You are an unfolding mystery. Every breath you take, every night you sleep. Every wound that heals somewhere in the background, there are processes you don't yet understand. Cells you've never seen, networks you don't even have words for, and yet they are yours. You are made of them. So tonight, when you look in the mirror, I want you to try something. Don't just see your face. Don't just see your skin. Try to imagine the hidden rivers flowing beneath it. The shimmering channels you've carried all your life without knowing. The vast interconnected web that scientists only just spotted, and that's only one piece of the puzzle. Because if there's one thing the interstitium teaches us, it's this. You are far more than the sum of what you've been told. And even the smartest minds on Earth are still learning who you truly are. We call it the organ in your body that scientists just discovered. But maybe it's also a reminder. Not everything worth knowing about yourself has been found yet. Some truths are still flowing quietly, just out of sight, waiting for the right light to reveal them.